Okay. Do we want to look at the next set of questions?
Let's look at the next set.
Okay. So I'm sharing here and oh, look at that. Talking about working together.
Oh, well, it's like we've organized these.
We organized the questions. I can't say that I prefer that we were organizing responses.
I know we really weren't either. I love how this spreadsheet is color coded, though, don't you?
Oh,
It
baby,
matches my shirt on this one.
you are
Um,
in your zone.
I am. I am. Wow. Okay.
So we're talking about balance here between staff
Mhm.
and their own lives. We're talking about bringing staff together so we're not overwhelming. And realizing that not all of us have the same needs at home as
Yeah.
professionals,
Yeah.
right? Personally, I have a need to connect with other people because my house is empty, right? And you
Right.
probably have a need to disconnect from people after our work days because you
Yeah.
need to feed your family and yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that balance is, I think it's really important during at the end of the day. So what are the boundaries going to be for you to balance that and what you need and also still take care of your people because, Ginger, we spend a lot of time together, either in the office or we travel together a lot. And so you normally do have connection. And so as your friend, it's important to me to connect it with you. And then it also is important for me, like you said, to disconnect and to think about what I need to do. Last night, we just did um, we played restaurant last night. So I was the waitress and Sadie was waiting on a friend to come to dinner at the dining room table. And so I came and served her and her friend hasn't shown up yet. And then once she was all served, I ran around the house and came in through the front door and sat down for dinner with my friend. And then we had a spa night and it was just a really nice time to find that balance for ourselves and then kind of reconnect. But I shut down pretty much everything else for those hours. I don't even know where my phone was during that time. And it felt so good. And then as soon as I realized I didn't know where my phone was, it started creeping in again. Like, oh, I don't know where my phone is. What if somebody needs me? What if, right? And so finding that balance and helping my colleagues know what is that balance for me? What is it going to be? Because on our team, I think there are only two of us with children at home right now. Is that right? Kelly and I think, are the only two with children at home right now that are young. Maybe Tamara. So there's not very many of us. And so figuring out that balance. I'm going to share with you a little bit of my world right now so that you can see that I'm doing the absolute best I can in this moment. Okay. So my current setup on my computer includes this guy here. Yeah, my dog is standing on my desk right now and has been almost this entire call because he needs connection and wants my attention. And then this was my conversation just a few minutes ago with my daughter. Stop moving the footstool. Only I wrote that really ugly. And so she couldn't read it. So she said, what? And I'm getting irritated. Like I'm over here on the other side, like holding the footstool down with my feet. And like, she's looking at me like I'm insane because she can't move it around. So she says, what? And so I write back, your feet, right? And I'm writing it like your feet. And she responds, oh, and she gets up and she goes out of the room, right? So like that balance that you have to communicate what you need in order to work well right now with people. That's a reality of where we're at. Are you communicating with your colleagues and your family members about what you need in order to make this time successful? Because as soon as I gave her a clear direction, she left. And I could have sat here instead and like spun in my head this story about what I'm trying to do right now and got angry about it, right? So are we communicating to our colleagues, ourselves, and our family members what the new normal is going to be? What are our boundaries?
Well, and
It's huge.
as we're communicating, love that. That's so important. I think we're going to have different ways of communicating. Like you being a part of this conversation and being able to write and then respond again. Oh, my brain's not going to handle that. If I've got something happening in the room, I'm going to have to say, excuse me just for a second. deal with and then come back. And I think that that's going to be okay. I mean, I think that some people in the past might have said, oh, how unprofessional. They should have paused the recording and should have blah, 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 and shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? A new normal, a new way, and being clear in that communication, patient with one another here as well as here, because your daughter's still, she is resilient. She is somebody who's flexible with new things, but she's still trying to figure out her new normal. How many years, what percentage of her life has she spent in school with school being done this way in your own desk? And now it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, for her, she has been in a school setting since 5 weeks old, right? She has gone somewhere else every day since she was 5 weeks old. And that's a long time to have a normal routine, right? So I had a thought there about, yesterday with the district we were with, several of them had their kids there. And there was I saw that moment, like the spark go in their eye, like, oh, my kid's here. And they need something. And so what a great model, right? The dog is still on my desk. I'm going to take care of this in just a second. But what a great model for the kids we're teaching to show grace and love to another family member. How is it any different if my daughter was to come stand right here, right now? Now, I'm an elementary school teacher, so y'all know this happens, right? I could be teaching a whole group lesson. Things are going awesome, right? Like I'm totally in the middle of my jam. Things are going great. And some random kid decides they need something. And so they stand up in the middle of my lesson and they walk over and then they just stand there and they're looking at me like, and then I finally break and I'm like, okay, Ted, what do you need? And Ted's like, can I go to the bathroom? Right? Okay, so that happens all the time in our classrooms. You like my kid? That happens all the time in our classrooms. What happened here? Right? And so you can pause your kid for just a minute, whatever your little hand signal needs to be. And then you find your breaking point and you say, okay, hold on. Yeah, hon, what do you need? Oh, you want to play Barbies right now? Sure, go ahead. You got 10 minutes, whatever it is. But that's okay. We have interruptions in the classroom all the time. Your virtual environment's going to be 100% the same.
One of the parts of this question that I don't know if we noticed, but I'm going to go ahead and say, how do we deal with grief type of feelings? How to be aware and honor this in various ways we're all affected by this. I want to hit that. We touched that a little bit in the first question, but I would like to go there. So things that would meet different people's preferences. Faith practices are strong, exercise, mental health ideas, how to deal with those grief type feelings.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting here is that you and I come from two very different perspectives on this topic here, right? So I think that we find a way to, we have different preferences in the way that we deal with grief. And yet I think sometimes this line gets blurred. So for me, it is a faith practice, and it is reading my Bible, and it is writing. And I do this Bible study thing, and I connect with my small group, and I do all of those things. And yet all of those things can happen in a different way. And so what are your strategies for keeping yourself centered? And another one of mine is exercise, and specifically exercising outside, which is strange because I don't mean running. I literally mean lifting weights outside barefoot. It's a whole thing. Don't worry about it. We can talk about it on another chat if you're interested in learning more about that. But those things, those are the things that keep me centered and sane, and that I honor the way I do that, and I honor the way that you do it too, right? So finding those channels, what are some of the things that you do to channel your center? And I know you have a lot of really great things that you do yourself.
Oh, you're asking what I do?
Yeah, I'm asking, what are some things you do?
You're asking about a really private part of me. A lot of people don't realize that I'm actually a pretty daggone private person because I have such a big footprint out there. But the ones that are more obvious, of course, is that I do a lot of physical exercise. I like to would a week and a half ago or so, I was feeling the shadow. I call it, I feel the shadow on me. It's on me. I just, the stress, the tension, it's on me. And the only way I could let that go was, one, to close my phone and stop looking at it, which is impossible. it's impossible for me, because that's also how I connect with people. And so I would have to go out and get some exercise, some hard stuff, some really high heart rate, pushing hard. And even when I was doing that, though, I got a notification on my phone, because I don't turn off notifications. Hi, I got to have music, because that's also a big piece for me. Music is a huge piece for me. I have many playlists for a variety of moods that I need to feel. Yeah, I need to feel. And so I got the notification, and it was a live press conference with the president, and so I had to watch that. I had to, as I'm walking and panting and pushing through the hills and the sand and that sort of thing. But finally got it shut down, back into my pocket. And at the end of those, I think it was 3 miles that day, at a pretty quick clip with a little bit of jogging for me, I was tired, and those endorphins had kicked in. And that was good. Music, I tune out sometimes. I do a little numbing, although I'm very conscious about numbing, is I will look at some TV. I don't watch TV a whole lot, and sometimes it's on, but I don't even look at it. But I will get into some really bad, what do you call them, sitcoms and things like that, things that are just dumb, and other people might enjoy them. Not me usually. But that's a big deal. And then of course I do have my own faith pieces that I work with, and that's my own.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that you do is you put up, for those of us who do follow you online, is you do a lot of affirmation pieces too. You share a lot of positive thinking pieces and things like that. And I'm only saying that because I know you do, you know, that is part of your public profile that you have. And so finding those things that anchor you, I think that's what we want to encourage people to do, that self-care and resources, it's not about going out and finding things out there to consume. It is about what is your piece that helps you feel stable again, and just owning that. For Ginger, it is going to be hiking. It's going to be being outside and being physical, and then numbing it out a little bit. And I do that too. Like that's my I have a really dumb game on my phone that takes no skill, and there are no points. I don't even know what the purpose of this game is. It's like Tetris, but it's not. It never gets harder. There are no levels. And man, I can play that game for like 2 hours and just drag blocks around, and it's so calming. That's how I numb sometimes when I'm overstimulated. It's just figuring out, who are you now that you have time? What helps you feel better? And there's no right or wrong answer here. I think as long as you're doing practices that are healthy and legal, right? I mean, just what helps you feel better? Do those things. Take time to do those things.
Yeah, you mentioned some things, and I forgot that. I guess I do cooking too, and I share out my cooking, and which is kind of hard right now, because I know not everybody's getting the food they need or want. So I'm not pushing out those things as much as I have in the past, even though they're helpful for me. I don't want to have my help irritate others. And yeah, that affirmation thing, if you ever see an affirmation post from me, it's because that's something I don't necessarily believe myself, and I'm trying to.